This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Cape Breton concerns. Temperatures rising, wells going dry. CBRM calls on residents to use less water. A place of reflection. A memorial bench is unveiled in honor of a Mahone Bay woman killed by her partner. And a Nova Scotia teen is the youngest person to make Canada's national goalball team.
Well, a heat warning remains in place for most of Nova Scotia with the elevated fire risk. More hot and dry weather, not a good thing. As for the next best bet for rain and cooler temperatures, I'll have your full forecast just ahead.
Good evening. The hot, dry summer continues in Nova Scotia. The Cape Breton Regional Municipality is now the latest municipality to put measures in place to address low water levels. They are also asking residents to conserve water. The mayor says levels are fine for now, but the dry weather is causing concern. The CBC's Kyle Moore reports.
A walk on the Sydney Boardwalk offers little relief to another hot and humid day. Signs of the dry weather and lack of precipitation are everywhere, and it's why the municipality is asking to conserve water in all ways possible.
Today is about an abundance of caution and care with the ongoing concern as a result of the water deficit we experience at this time.
Shorter showers, not leaving water running when brushing teeth, shaving or washing dishes, no watering lawns, washing vehicles or filling swimming pools. They are all requests the municipality are asking of residents.
In response to the drought, the municipality will provide several access points where residents can bring containers to fill for use for their non-potable water. And municipal recreation facilities are being reviewed with the intent to open some of those facilities where residents can take showers if required.
The CBRM says more than a dozen residents have reported their wells going dry and are encouraging others to reach out for help if they are concerned about water levels by calling the city's 311 line.
We're completing arrangements for residents with dry wells to access potable water in 4-liter containers.
The CBRM says municipal water levels remain healthy at this time, but says steps are needed to make sure it stays that way.
I want to encourage everyone to work together during this period to ensure we can meet the needs of all residents and maintain readiness for emergency firefighting operations.
Speaking of fire, officials say calls for illegal burns are still coming in, but there's been improvement.
I hasten to use the word slower over the last few days, but there still is, and we're working closely with the police department.
Benton says no fines related to fires have been laid in the CBRM to date. For now, officials are asking everyone to follow the rules as long as the dry conditions continue. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
Farmers across the province are also feeling the effects of the dry weather. In Cape Breton, a flower farm's meadow is not blooming, and another farm close by is worried it will run out of water. As Anna Rack reports, the owners have found another way to keep their business from wilting.
At Ager Lane Flower Farm, the flower meadow is brown and dry, and only a few flowers have bloomed. In a normal season, the meadow is full of native flowers. It's even used as a wedding venue. But due to the lack of rainfall, the meadow is not looking like the colorful flower field it's known for.
This is our second year with the meadow, and it is dry. A lot of the flowers have gone to seed a lot earlier than last year. We have a specialty cutting garden that we are watering, but we're watering it with our well that is like just our regular house well, so it's always a bit anxiety-inducing.
Less than 10 minutes down the road, Eiking Brothers Farms is in the same boat. Crops have been struggling in the dry weather, and he worries that his well will dry out if there's no rain soon.
We know that if this continues for another month or so, we could be hitting levels in those wells that we have never gone to. And then it becomes a real challenge because then it's digging more wells, more expense and so forth.
Eiking is using the time he would normally be using to tend to the farm to catch up on maintenance. Meanwhile, back at Ager Lane Flower Farm, they are also making the best of the dry situation. The owners have created a climate change resilience strategy to keep their business running, using their farm as an event space for summer markets.
But we decided to couple the event space with the farm from the beginning, as hoping that, if one was bad, the other could contribute to the overall health of the farm depending on the season back and forth.
Both farms are hoping for a better autumn season. Anna Rack, CBC News, Bullardry Island.
No major wildfires have broken out in Nova Scotia yet this summer, but wildfires elsewhere across Atlantic Canada are escalating under dangerous weather conditions. Right now, there are 23 active fires burning across the region, and at least 4 wildfires are burning out of control in Newfoundland and Labrador. Here you can see water bombers tackling the Kingston fire, which is on the east coast of Newfoundland. It is now the largest active wildfire in the province, covering an area of more than 5,000 hectares. Evacuation orders are in effect. At least a dozen wildfires continue to burn in New Brunswick, and several communities are bracing for possible evacuation orders. Jay Scotland in for Ryan this week. And Jay, wow, a hot one, another hot one in Nova Scotia today.
Yeah, and we will repeat that again tomorrow, Tom, which is not welcome news when you just consider just the elevated fire risk, which is anywhere from very high to extreme across much of Atlantic Canada. Of course, we have those fires that are burning neighboring province, Moncton area, Miramichi area, back into New Brunswick. Very, very, very hopeful we don't see anything start here just with the tinderbox conditions we are seeing after having a very dry month of July and little to no precipitation so far for the month of August. So the heat, this heat warning, not welcome news just with that elevated fire risk. Today we saw temperatures a little cooler if you were immediately downwind of the water, but inland areas up over 30. Humidex values were high 30s to over 40 in many areas, and we could be up into that neck of the woods for much of Nova Scotia again tomorrow. So for the HRM, you can see a clear sky through the overnight hours tonight. Mainly sunny. Temperatures, if not hitting 30, very close to it. Humidex values mid to high 30s. It's going to be another muggy and hot one for your Tuesday.
All right, full details on the way shortly. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah.
A correction now to a story we aired on May 21st as part of our continuing coverage of the Pat Stay murder trial. Adam Drake was convicted of second-degree murder in Stay's death. On May 21st, we reported that on the night Pat Stay was killed, police arrested a man named Carm McCool and charged him with murder. While police did arrest McCool, he was never charged. We apologize for our error. Mahone Bay is an idyllic town, but like everywhere else in this province, it's not immune from the epidemic of intimate partner violence. A bench was unveiled there today in honor of Elaine Mosier, who was killed by her husband in January. The CBC's Andrew Sampson reports.
This bench, located next to a pond in Mahone Bay, is a tranquil space for quiet reflection, where people can remember Elaine Mosier as she was.
Elaine was a vibrant soul. She was a wonderful person. She loved helping everybody. She would give the shirt off her back.
Mosier was killed by her husband earlier this year, another case of intimate partner violence in the province. Her friends say she was outspoken about almost everything, but she wasn't able to escape what they have described as a bad situation.
She stayed with me for a while, and but she was so pressured to move back in with him, and she couldn't find a place to rent because rent was too much money.
In response to growing calls for action in March, the province increased funding for transitional housing for women by nearly $24 million. It's a small step in the right direction, even if much more work needs to be done, advocates say.
And that's also a new initiative by the government that will support women who would like to safely find housing for them and their children here in the province.
Elaine's family and friends want other women to know they don't have to suffer in silence.
There's help out there, and there's a good number. Like there's the shelters, and there's people out there willing to help you. And please, like, come forward and get some help so that this doesn't happen to you, what happened to Elaine.
In Mahone Bay, Elaine's memory will live on for anyone who visits the memorial. The bench is inscribed with a quote from Elaine that will be hard to forget. All I ever wanted was peace. Andrew Sampson, CBC News, Mahone Bay.
The province has rejected Halifax's new regional plan to guide growth in the capital city. The new plan would change a slew of bylaws and planning documents across Halifax, updating the current version brought in more than a decade ago. But Municipal Affairs Minister John Lohr told Halifax he could not approve it because some changes impede housing growth, like requiring electric vehicle parking spaces in new homes or apartments. Municipal staff say they have been working with the province to address some issues, but they did not expect Lohr to reject the entire plan. Lohr says the province will work with Halifax to develop a, quote, new, more practical, citizen-focused regional plan. Several community partners came together over the weekend to honor Emancipation Day in the Preston Township. Emancipation Day on August the 1st marks the end of slavery in the British Empire, including here in Canada. CBC spoke with organizers, volunteers, and attendees about what the day means to them.
So I heard about this wonderful Emancipation Day barbecue celebration, which celebrates Emancipation Day. So I invited a lot of my friends and my family, and so we're just enjoying the sights and the sounds of the great barbecue that's going on here, and meeting lots of people and seeing lots of people that we know.
Emancipation Day was actually declared August 1st, 1834. In the British Empire. We're here to commemorate that particular momentous occasion. The Nova Scotia Home for Colored Children, which opened here in 1921, is the only one of its kind in Canada. It could take black children from across the country as an orphanage. And to have it on these historic grounds, on this property that belongs to the Black Nova Scotian community, is the only place where it should be.
It's important to be here today because it's good to support our community and and serve our community.
So we are emancipated. We're free people. So let's share that and let's embrace our freedom and teach our children what Emancipation Day means and why it exists. So
the Preston Township office is here giving away free books for folks. Plus we have take a ride in an electric car. Of course, we'll fill your belly with hearts and hands, and we'll fill your soul with Black history.
A Nova Scotia teenager has become the youngest person ever to make Canada's men's national goalball team and has a promising future in the sport. Harry Nickerson persevered after a life-changing diagnosis at the age of 10 with the mentorship of a coach who is now his teammate. Josh Hoffman has more.
At 16, Harry Nickerson is the youngest person ever to make the Canadian men's national goalball team, now playing alongside the man who introduced him to the sport and helped him get to where he is.
It means a lot, especially having great role models like my coach Peter, and then eventually getting to play with him on the international stage is really great.
Nickerson made his international debut for Canada this month at the America's Goalball Championships in Brazil, playing alongside his former coach and now teammate, Peter Parsons. Parsons first introduced Nickerson to the sport after a life-changing diagnosis.
6 years ago, I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa, which is a degenerative eye condition. And obviously, it was a crushing diagnosis to know that you're going blind, especially when you're 10 years old.
The news was devastating for Nickerson, who comes from a family of athletes. But he leaned into the challenge of learning a new sport. Goalball is a sport for people who are blind or visually impaired that is played on a gym court, and players try to throw a ball past their opponents and into the net to score points. Nickerson has been a natural from the start.
He's beyond his years. He's, I think has the potential to be one of the best players in the world.
Parsons says it's been rewarding to watch Nickerson excel as a player and credits him for his work on the physical and mental sides of the game.
We always talk about how mental goalball can be, like many sports. I think the fact that our vision is blocked out and it takes a lot of focus.
A lesson that Nickerson says has helped him on and off the court.
He's, taught me responsibility, especially, and self-accountability. Also not to be too hard on yourself, and he's taught me to be eventually happy with what you put forward no matter what and leave it all on the court.
Josh Hoffman, CBC News, Halifax.
What a great place to be on a day like this. That's Mahone Bay on the South Shore. Jay, back with your full weather forecast after this.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
All right, Jay Scotland back now with your full weather forecast. And Jay, not much relief in sight if you're looking for things to cool down or any moisture.
Yeah, no, I mean, coming off of what was very, very dry conditions across Nova Scotia for the month of July, the last thing we needed was our first 11 days of August to be rain or precipitation free, at least mainly, and that is what we have been seeing. So when we add to that mix of dry conditions, very hot conditions, aside from maybe the elevated humidity, which is somewhat helpful, the warm temperatures are not good for turning already very dry conditions in terms of that fire risk, really just making a bad problem even worse. So temperatures today, unless you are immediately downwind of the water, and really it's you head towards areas like the South Shore, for example, where the fire risk is high, that's still not good, but you head to more central and northern parts of the province, and that's where we're seeing that extreme fire risk, where the warmer temperatures are as well. Warmer temperatures, of course, and some pretty brisk winds from the southwest. So as we take a look at those daytime high temperatures today out at Stanfield, I know if you look down towards the water, it was a little bit cooler, but Stanfield 33 for that daytime high today. We saw humidex values up in the high 30s to over 40, so very hot, very humid conditions, and yeah, absolute lack of cloud cover to really keep that sun off of us as well. So man, oh man, hot, very humid conditions, and of course, very dry conditions for folks hoping to maybe get outside and enjoy the rain-free weather. Tough to do that when we have that very high to extreme fire risk across the province. So through the overnight hours tonight, we're not seeing much in terms of cloud cover. As we move into your Tuesday morning, starting out mainly sunny. As we move into the afternoon, we may see a few passing clouds. This is not likely going to amount to any scattered showers. This little bit of green you're seeing on this future radar, this is just one forecast model's take. Expect it to be mainly sunny and dry through the day for the most part tomorrow. In terms of relief, not going to come on Wednesday either. We will see maybe some coastal fog developing in the morning. Could see some mist, possibly some drizzle for some areas up into Cape Breton. I'm not expecting rain on Wednesday, by the way, just a bit more in terms of passing clouds. And the further north and east you are, maybe a bit more cloud than clear sky at times on the Wednesday. I think Halifax, it'll be a mix of sun and cloud for your Wednesday. It's really as we get into Thursday that we start to see at least some good news for an approaching weather system. It's in the form of a cold front. Now, as the cold front approaches, the wind from the southwest increases. We'll see that cold front starting to bear down into northwestern New Brunswick, bringing some much-needed showers and some pockets of heavier rain with thunderstorms into Thursday morning. Starts to approach as we look to the late afternoon, more so the evening, starts to approach Nova Scotia, and we could see some showers developing ahead of it. There is a chance, certainly the more north and east you are, as we get into late Thursday through early Friday, of a few isolated thunderstorms. Could bring some locally more significant pockets of rain, but unfortunately, I don't think that cold front is going to bring a good long-duration soaking, which is what the province needs. We'll take the rain. I'm more optimistic about the cooler temperatures being beneficial in the wake of that cold front, but brisk winds ahead of it and following the passage also not good. So it's a bit of a mixed bag when it's a cold front approaching and your wet weather, significant wet weather, is really isolated to those localized convective showers. So we'll keep an eye on that for Thursday. It will be beneficial with cooler temperatures, though, heading into the weekend, so Friday and into the weekend following that cold front. Tonight, temperatures will be up into the high teens to even around 20 across the province. It is going to feel warmer with the humidity, so without air conditioning, we'll be in uncomfortable sleep. Just a few clouds tonight, mainly sunny tomorrow, and we're looking at temperatures into the high 20s to low 30s. For some areas, like Truro, for example, it's probably going to feel over 40, factoring in the humidex, so another very hot and muggy one tomorrow for inland areas. Lots of sunshine as well. So really the suppressive heat and humidity is persisting as well. Wednesday, not quite as warm, but we will still see warmer than normal conditions. Good chance that that heat warning will be in place through Wednesday. It's the late day showers and that cold front that moves through with the additional cloud cover on Thursday, though, that I think will provide the bigger benefit into at least helping to alleviate to some degree the fire risk. It's not going to help as much as we want it to, but we will watch for at least some cooler temperatures as we move into the weekend. So late Thursday, early Friday, some showers, northern areas, maybe a few rumbles, and then we get into a cooler or a more seasonal weather pattern as we move into the weekend. Tom?
We're going to need all the help we can get by then, for sure. Yeah. Okay, Jay, thanks so much. Ottawa announced a $2 billion per year graduated series of salary top-ups and incentives last week for the Canadian military. It's aimed at providing some much-needed support for the lowest-ranking positions who are struggling in the face of rising costs of living, up to a 20% raise for some of the lowest-ranking members. Debbie Lowther is with Vets Canada, a charity that supports military members. Ms. Lowther, we haven't seen a restructuring of military salaries in this country for a long time. I gather you like these changes?
I do. Long overdue, that's for sure. But I think it's great news, and I'm happy that the lower ranks will get, the greatest increase or greatest percentage increase, because they are the ones that are struggling the most. So I think that's a good way that they've laid it out. Of course, the devil is always in the details, but from what I've heard, everything sounds quite positive.
Okay, I know people think of your organization as helping vets, but I understand active members who are struggling as well are calling you, reaching out for help. What are they saying?
Yeah, so we do have a number of still serving members on our caseload right now, and a lot like the lower ranks, so privates, corporals, and they are just not being able to make ends meet. It's a choice they're making every month. Do I pay my rent or do I feed myself? So it's, this pay raise is really going to help them. But yeah, we are seeing an increase in serving members, which is quite sad.
Yeah, I know there's a food pantry for military members in Dartmouth. The military members, some members at least, are accessing. What are you seeing in terms of demand there compared to recent years?
Yeah, so we actually just launched the food pantry in March, and so we're slowly increasing our numbers of veterans that are accessing the food pantry. But about a month ago, I sent an email over to CFB Halifax, basically letting them know about the food pantry. And within the next 2 weeks, we've got 5 clients who are accessing the food pantry that are still serving. So, I think that really demonstrates how they're struggling.
And so what is your understanding about what's leading to that sort of increased or widespread need for the service?
Well, I think it's just, the affordability crisis that we're all experiencing right now. It's really difficult to feed yourself. And I think it's, years ago, we would think of a private joining the military as, probably somebody maybe only 18, 19. But we're seeing older people start to join. So, a couple of the people that are accessing our food pantry are, privates, corporals, but they're not, fresh out of high school, basically. They are adults, like, late 20s, early 30s. So, it's hard especially if you have a family. And I know the salaries right now are, I don't think they're barely a living wage, I would say.
And so how much do you think this pay raise will help? In some cases, it could mean a 20% increase.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think it will be wonderful. I think right now a private starting out in the military makes about, I don't know, high 30,000s. And, to me, that's just absurd. Somebody that's willing to put their life on the line for their country and, being paid peanuts and having to access a food pantry is unacceptable, in my opinion. So the increase is really going to help those folks.
How much would it help vets, this pay increase? I gather it may not help much at all. And in terms of restructuring of pay and benefits, since we're talking about that, what kind of restructuring do you want to see for them, the vets?
Well, I would say there's some of the benefits that veterans can get from Veterans Affairs are based on pre-release income. So I think that's how that will help folks getting out now, because their pre-release income will be higher, so their benefits will be higher on the other end. So that's where I see it helping veterans.
And what about veterans who are on disability? They've wondered whether they'll automatically get the raise. I mean, how much do you know about how complicated this will be, or does it just show up?
Yeah, I think it could be complicated, but I'm not sure what the plan is for, disability benefits. I'm not really sure at all what the plan is.
Well, like you said, we're learning all about this as we go along. Devil in the details for sure. And we'll see where it does go from here. Debbie Lowther of Vets Canada, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up, wildfires in parts of Atlantic Canada are escalating under dangerous conditions as hot, dry, and windy weather fuels the flames. And U.S. President Donald Trump vows to crack down on crime in Washington, D.C., despite data showing it's at a 30-year low. Welcome back. As we told you earlier, wildfires continue to burn across the country and have already scorched more than 7 million hectares of land. In Atlantic Canada alone, at least 23 fires are burning, a handful of them out of control in Newfoundland and Labrador. Heather Gillis reports.
Already driving thousands from their homes, the wildfire situation in Newfoundland and Labrador is intensifying, now including a new fast-moving fire near St. John's. The smoke is a stone's throw away from homes and buildings, closing part of the Trans-Canada Highway near a crucial power line into the province's largest city.
So I want everyone in that area to recognize and realize that there are potential power interruptions as we go through this.
5 out-of-control fires are raging in the province. In central Newfoundland, the Martin Lake fire could close a vital highway linking to the province's south coast. The province's largest fire in Kingston on the Bay d'Avord Peninsula, about 100 kilometres away from St. John's, hasn't grown much since Sunday. It's already destroyed more than 9 homes and forced some 3,000 people to flee, who are now awaiting word.
We had people telling us that our homes were still in stand in Western Bay, my grandmother's and my mother's, and then we had messages saying your house is gone.
As they steam up the harbor.
Larry Baldwin is trying to provide some solace to evacuees to keep his mind off possibly having to leave his home behind.
It is affecting everybody. Sleep is tough, and people are thinking about your friends that lost their homes, you know. It's tough. Yeah.
In New Brunswick, 3 fires are out of control near Irishtown, not far from Moncton, and near the communities of Bathurst and Miramichi.
The wildfire situation in New Brunswick has gotten worse.
People in the area close to the fires may need to evacuate on short notice. Joanne Gallant and her son Nicholas are in Maple Hill near Moncton.
It's not a lot, but it's for sure not our whole life.
Packing up their most important belongings.
You can pack some, but you can't pack everything. So we're just going to hope, you know what I mean, and keep faith that we're going to be okay.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Gaza health officials say at least 40 people have been killed in Israeli overnight strikes. The victims included Palestinians seeking humanitarian aid, but also 5 journalists. Israel's military has claimed that one of them, an Al Jazeera correspondent, was the head of a Hamas terrorist cell. Susan Ormiston reports from Jerusalem, but first, a warning. This story contains graphic images that some viewers may find disturbing.
Mourners carried the bodies of the 5 journalists killed Sunday night in an Israeli air attack through the streets of Gaza City. The 5 journalists were all staff at Al Jazeera, the Qatari-based media company. The targeted attack hit their media tent just outside Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. One of the journalists, Anas al-Sharif, was one of the most prominent Al Jazeera journalists, Palestinian journalists in Gaza. The Israeli Defense Force acknowledged they had killed al-Sharif quite quickly, saying that he was, in fact, a member of a Hamas terrorist organization posing as a journalist. Al Jazeera categorically refutes these allegations, saying that he was targeted in order to silence his voice before the military escalation expected to try and occupy Gaza City. In Qatar, there was a vigil by colleagues of these 5 journalists who said that this was a targeted killing on their team.
The killing, it's an assassination, a deliberate assassination against our team to kill and to hide the crimes and the truths who have been covered by this brave team.
The 28-year-old journalist left a message to be posted on Twitter were he to die, and it was today. He said, "If these words reach you, Israel has succeeded in killing me and silencing my voice." In other news from the region, Australia has also added its voice, calling on a Palestinian state to be declared by Australia before the UN General Assembly meeting in New York. Here's the Prime Minister.
Far too many innocent lives have been lost. The Israeli government continues to defy international law and deny sufficient aid, food and water to desperate people, including children.
Israel calls this a gift to Hamas for its brutal attack on October 7th. It says that countries taking this diplomatic action only emboldens Hamas and will lengthen the war, not shorten it. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Jerusalem.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet in Alaska next Friday to discuss the war in Ukraine. But as Crystal Gumansing reports, some European leaders are concerned.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia is dragging out the war and should not receive any rewards or positives for itself. Talks about finding a path to peace in Ukraine will be held Friday, but at this point, Ukraine will not be at the table. The talks are between Russia and the U.S. The European Union's foreign ministers met virtually today to lay out expectations and possible next steps. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas said she wants to see a willingness on Russia's part to end the war and agree to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. Europeans worry the U.S. will promise land concessions by Ukraine in order to get a deal with Russia to end the war. U.S. President Donald Trump was asked about the upcoming talks at a press briefing in Washington. He described them as a feel-out meeting, saying he believes Putin wants to get it over with, but acknowledges that he has said that before. No American president has met with Putin since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk said he is waiting for the results of the meeting, that he has a lot of fears, but a lot of hopes. Security is the prime European issue, especially for those in close geographical proximity to Russia. Trump said after he meets with Putin, he will then brief Zelensky and European leaders. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, London.
President Trump is taking federal control of D.C.'s police department and deploying the National Guard. City officials say it's unnecessary and critics call it unlawful. Lisa Shing reports from Washington.
Trump is calling this Liberation Day in D.C., placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police under federal control. Law enforcement officials here will now be reporting directly to Attorney General Pam Bondi. In a press conference today, Trump called the city dirty and disgusting, saying violent crime was spiraling. So in order to combat that, he's deploying hundreds of officials across various federal agencies, law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and the National Guard. Trump is able to do this because he's declaring a public safety emergency.
Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it.
Now, this comes after a prominent former staffer in DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, was attacked in an apparent carjacking last week. However, the stats themselves tell a bit of a different story. While crime here in D.C. is an issue in certain areas especially, the Department of Justice has statistics saying that violent crime hit a 30-year low in 2024. Now, we heard from D.C.'s Mayor Muriel Bowser, who voiced concern about Trump's move.
We know that access to our democracy is tenuous. That is why you have heard me and many Washingtonians before me advocate for full statehood for the District of Columbia.
This is coming just several months after Donald Trump sent the National Guard to quell immigration protests in Los Angeles, and that's currently going through the courts as well. But here in D.C. is a little bit different. Trump has a bit more authority here because there is no state government. So for now, we will be seeing more law enforcement officials on the streets of the nation's capital. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Washington.
More air travelers visited Canada in July compared to last year. That's according to the latest numbers from Statistics Canada. At the same time, return trips from the U.S. by road were way down. Cross-border travel between Canada and the United States fell by nearly 37%. Americans visiting Canada by car also dropped by just over 7%. Meanwhile, air arrivals by non-residents to the country was up 3% last month. Overall, this is the sixth consecutive month of the year-over-year decline in travel. Speaking of travel, a new bus company has entered the Canadian market. It comes as young budget-conscious travelers are driving up demand for a low-cost bus service. FlixBus came to Canada after Greyhound's exit in 2021. But as Paula Dehacek tells us, connecting a country as big as Canada is a challenge.
10C and 6C. Yes. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Travelers fresh off the airplane and en route to the mountains, not a rental car in sight.
Here, we were trying to stay on a budget, so the bus was the best option.
We're kind of like broke college students, so we just got the cheapest thing we could.
This trip from Calgary to Banff is one of the latest routes offered by German company Flixbus. The company launched domestic service in Canada in 2022 and says it's been doubling its mileage every year since.
We as Flix believe in intercity bus. It's growing. It's one of the biggest transportation markets across the globe.
Flixbus started with trips across the U.S.-Canada border, followed by domestic travel in Ontario, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. The company targets travelers from all walks of life, but one generation stands out. What do you think is the average age of people on this bus?
I'd say in their early 20s, maybe around 20, yeah.
They don't want to drive. They prefer public transportation, no hassle, actually travel. So that is an increasing trend. This is a strong trend, actually underlying our growth.
Flixbus isn't the only game in town. Canadian competitors like Red Arrow, eBus, and Ryder Express say they're beefing up their service as well.
At the end of the day, having more companies come in and provide those services in the intercity bus market is helpful.
But this transit expert says many rural and remote communities may be left out.
You'll need government support when it comes to looking at some of those further out places.
Arriving in Banff, customers say they got what they paid for.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So I went on them before back home in Europe, and it was a very similar experience.
For now, the company plans to keep expanding in the prairie provinces and from there into BC and Quebec. Paula Duhacek, CBC News, Banff, Alberta.
Just off the coast of Newfoundland, an urgent and risky operation is underway. Crews are working to contain the heavy oil inside a grounded cargo vessel as it's battered by the North Atlantic Ocean. The CBC's Peter Cowan got an exclusive look at the massive cleanup.
It's been almost 6 months since the Baltic 3 washed ashore here in Cedar Cove, and crews have been busy trying to get all of the oil and other environmental contaminants off the ship. But the big challenge has been the weather. On days like today, crews can't get aboard the ship. They can't unload the oil or the containers that are on board. They're really at the mercy of the weather. And for the mayor of nearby Lark Harbor, the big concern is the oil that's on board this ship. He says it needs to come off in order to keep the environment here safe.
With the fishery being the backbone of this town and such, they get there, and we didn't want to see any fuel, any oils, or anything being spilled to jeopardize the future of this town, right? So that was the biggest concern right from the get-go, and still is a concern also, like until it's all totally removed.
There have been some upsides to having this ship here. It's helping the local economy. Although salvage crews are renting local accommodations, they're eating meals in local restaurants. The other benefit has been the tourism. People have come and made the trek out to the site to see it for themselves.
Just like everybody else, came out to see the ship. Been waiting since February to come out and see it, so.
And what's it like when you finally see it?
It's amazing. It's a lot bigger in person than it is seeing it on TV or anything like that.
Removing this ship from Cedar Cove is not going to be quick, and it's not going to be easy. In fact, they're expecting that it's going to be here all winter. That means there's still a hurricane season and winter storms to come. The hope is that Mother Nature will leave the ship in place until crews can take it out. Peter Cowan, CBC News, near Lark Harbor, Newfoundland.
Strength in consumer cyclical stocks helped Canada's main stock index finish slightly higher today. Here's a look at the numbers as we head to commercial break.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
All right, Jay, the fans will be going again tonight. The air conditioning on full tilt for folks trying to sleep in what has been a real hot streak here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, and it's not just you were saying with the fan on at night, it's not just the daytime highs. If the temperature's close to 20 and you don't have a heat pump or an air conditioner, something to get the heat in your home, out of your home, your house, your apartment, it just starts out the next day that much warmer. So that's why we have that heat warning in effect through the overnight hours. It's really a combination of a hot day followed by a muggy night that it becomes a bigger problem each and every day. And as we have for all but the South Shore region, this heat warning in place, I think it's likely going to be in place through Wednesday, possibly for some areas, even Thursday before that cold front does move through. So, yeah, very muggy conditions. Tomorrow we're going to start out calm wind. We'll see a mainly sunny start to the day, depending on how close to the water you are, between 17 and 19 degrees for that very early morning temperature at 7 a.m. You're not going to see much, if any, change through the day in terms of the conditions as we take a look at your day planner forecast. Temperature will be up in the mid to high 20s if you're away from the water by noon. That wind from the south is fairly light, so we're not getting much relief from the humidity, at least in that sense. Sometimes a brisk wind can help to knock the humidex down a little bit, but this is still from that warmer wind direction, so ushering in more of that humidity. And it does pick up late into the afternoon. Temperature for Halifax should top out anywhere from 27 by the water to 31 inland, likely feeling into the mid to high 30s for much of the HRM, just with that humidex tomorrow. That sunshine not helpful. At least for most of the day, the wind is calm. With that elevated fire risk, nice to see that the wind is not overly gusty, but again, if you are planning on doing anything outdoors, it's not just about paying attention to how you're feeling, being cautious with your health in this heat, but also be cautious in terms of any outdoor activity with that elevated fire risk, which is high to extreme across the province as well.
Some good advice there, Jay. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Well, the Canada Games kicked off in St. John's this weekend. The first medals were handed out on Sunday. 2 of the 3 went to athletes from the Atlantic region. The CBC's Alex Kennedy was poolside for the first medals in swimming and brings us a story.
The energy inside the Aqua Arena was sky high Sunday as competition in the 2025 Canada Games kicked off. Here, athletes from across the country got their first chance to compete for hardware. 18-year-old Gavin Baggs of Paradise earned Newfoundland and Labrador's first medal, a silver in swimming.
This means so much as these games are from in Newfoundland and Labrador, and it's just an honor to be able to represent my province and absolutely an honor to win a medal for them.
Baggs is a multi-sport athlete competing in his 4th games. He'll have a shot at more medals in para track and field next week. Meanwhile, the first gold medal of the games, that went to Isabella Cooper of Ontario. The 16-year-old smashed a 12-year-old Canada Games record in the 1,500-meter freestyle.
It's definitely unbelievable. I can't even imagine coming into this games. I didn't think that would be something that would happen, so I'm just really happy with how that went.
Although Prince Edward Island's Veronica McClellan took home bronze, she joined an elite club of athletes on the podium, winning that province's 3rd ever medal in the pool.
It's insane. I had no clue. I was just sitting there and my coach came up to me and he was like, Veronica, you are the 3rd swimmer in PEI to get a medal here. And I was like, what? There's no way. It's crazy. It's like a dream. It's insane.
These competitors were among the first to swim in the renovated Aqua Arena, a venue built the last time St. John's hosted the Summer Games in 1977. 48 years and a large-scale renovation later, athletes dove back in. Baggs says the revamped pool will open doors for local swimmers.
We have the ability now to train at a high-performance pool, and the Aqua Arena before was a really great pool, but now that it was revamped for Canada Games, it's just at a whole nother level. So we're really getting that advantage of getting this amazing pool for future generations of swimmers.
Swimming will continue here at the Aqua Arena until Friday, where athletes will be looking to make a splash on their way to the podium. Alex Kennedy, CBC News, St. John's.
And we wish all the athletes well. Well, that is it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.